So now I'm working on my magnum. Yeah, rest, heard they competition. I'm obsessed, yeah, I'm impressed that people really think they'll be up next. It's your life, you ain't all about it. All you do is make raps, just talk about it. Face facts, I'ma do my own thing, turn in my own lane, so you're not a threat.
The fusion of Broly and Madara Uchiha. This is absolutely terrifying fusion all the way to the genetic makeup of this fusion. You have the incredible intelligence and hacks of Madara, as well as his incredible combat skill, with the insane potential and transformations of Broly, who is already powerful enough to force two Super Saiyan Blues to back down so they could fuse to fight him. And this is coming from a Broly who's basically had zero training in both strength training and martial arts. So you add the experience and technique of Madara to the insane power and potential of Broly, while also giving all of Madara's abilities a Broly potential level amp to them? Yeah, fighting this fusion is not going to be easy or fun at all. Oh, and do I even need to mention a legendary Super Saiyan Amp Susanoo? And with how stable Madara's mind is with his intelligence, I think he would be able to really utilize Broly's potential to its fullest. Being able to utilize his techniques to keep distance if he needs to catch his breath. And could you imagine if he utilized the Limbo clones with Broly's strength added to them? Meaning you'll have to deal with a bunch of invisible Brolys that have the skill and abilities of Madara. So now I'll end this video by asking this. Now I'll ask this question. With the added skill, techniques, and intelligence of Madara, would that be enough to overcome the might of Gogeta? Or would this fusion still be overwhelmed by the power of Gogeta? Because honestly, I believe if you gave Broly all these things I've mentioned from Madara and put them at the same level as Broly, I think it would make it way too easy for Broly to win. I don't think Blue Gogeta would be enough. They'd probably have to either break out Blue Kaioken, Blue Evolution, or hell, they might even have to do a last resort and break out Ultra Instinct. Now, I'll be honest, if they use Ultra Instinct, this fusion of Madara and Broly would not stand a chance against an Ultra Instinct Gogeta. But a Super Saiyan Blue, or Blue Kaioken, or Blue Evolved, that's more contentious in my mind. This is an interesting one. The fusion of Mr. Aizawa from My Hero Academia and Spider-Man. What I think would make this fusion the most dangerous would be if, due to this fusion, Aizawa's quirk no longer worked on just quirks, and was capable of working on other types of powers besides quirks. Mr. Aizawa already uses his capture weapon, the scarf he always has with him, similar to how Spider-Man uses his webbing. Even to the point where he can hang upside down with it in the same pose as Spider-Man. So, them getting around isn't going to be much of a problem. Because even if Spider-Man runs out of the web fluid in his web shooters, he could just use the capture weapon to get around. And unlike Aizawa, who just has peak human level physical strength and athletics and all that stuff, his base level is going to be Spider-Man at his peak level. Who, for those that don't know, Spider-Man at his strongest, when he doesn't hold back, was able to destroy all of his rogues gallery in a single afternoon. So you combine the fact that he'd be able to have the incredible physical prowess of Spider-Man, as well as the ability to suppress or full-on negate the powers of his opponent. Trying to beat this fusion is going to be an absolute nightmare. Since TikTok increased the time limit of videos up to 10 minutes, I'm going to cover 4 fusions in a single video. First, we've got the top left, the fusion of Wolverine and Batman, also known as Dark Claw. Before I continue, all 4 of these fusions are actually official fusions from the Marvel and DC crossover universe called Amalgam Comics. Okay, now back to explaining the characters. Dark Claw is an absolute beast. Damn near in the literal sense. Because he's got the intelligence and combat skill of Bruce Wayne with the incredibly dangerous adamantium claws, healing factor, and savage nature of Wolverine. That combination alone Not even mentioning the other abilities that he can have, whether it be Batman's gadgets, or factoring in just how dangerous adamantium claws are in general. You are giving someone with the combat skill and intelligence of Bruce Wayne access to claws that can cut through damn near anything, including having a healing factor. Yeah, if you're a criminal and you encounter this fusion, yeah, broken bones are the least of your problems. Alright, time to move on to the next character. Right next to Darkclaw, we have the fusion of Dr. Fate and Dr. Strange, also known as Strange Fate. But it is not just Dr. Fate and Dr. Strange, because the actual person underneath all of that is Professor Xavier. So not only does he have the combined mystical powers of Doctor Strange and Dr. Fate, but also the off-the-charts telekinetic capabilities of Professor X. Doctor Strange Fate is canonically one of the strongest characters in Amalgam Comics. Knowledge and capabilities of the mystic arts and overall intelligence in general is nearly unrivaled. And Strange Fate is capable of doing anything that any of the three characters individually have done in their most impressive showings, casually. So think of the most powerful thing you've seen Dr. Fate, Doctor Strange, or Professor Xavier do individually, and this fusion is capable of doing that effortlessly. Now, moving on from the absolute beast that is Strange Fate, we get Super Soldier, the fusion of Captain America and Superman. Now, this character is a weird case. He's way stronger than Captain America, but way weaker than Superman. He's bulletproof, but massive explosions can hurt him, which is why he has the shield. The shield's main purpose is to use partially as a weapon and partially to protect against massive explosions. He's got the incredible combat skill of Superman and Captain America combined, the incredibly kind heart of the two together, and don't bring up Injustice, that Superman is not canon. You combine Superman's Boy Scout mentality with Steve Rogers' incredible heart, and probably the most impressive thing about this fusion would be how caring they are for civilians, and just how much of a sense of justice they have. And lastly, we move on to the fourth, and in my personal opinion, my favorite of the four, purely because of what it does. This is Iron Lantern, the fusion of Green Lantern and Iron Man. Now, people might think, oh, it's just an Iron Man suit, but with a Green Lantern ring. False, because it is way more terrifying than that. Because instead of a standard power source like Tony Stark has in his normal suits, this suit is powered by the Green Lantern power battery. So his suit is powered entirely off of his own willpower. And just imagine how complex and creative his constructs would be, having the technological brilliant mind of Tony Stark being a part of this. I'd honestly say the only massive downside that this fusion has is their cockiness and ego, because both Hal Jordan and Tony Stark have quite a massive amount of ego and cockiness between the two. So yeah, being around them would be so annoying. But I'll leave you with this. Which one is your favorite of these four, and which one is your least favorite of these four? Now, before I continue and anyone tries to get mad at me for not picking one character over another, I honestly believe that none of these characters would in reality quit, even if they were overwhelmed. But if I had to decide who would at least come close to thinking about giving up, I think it would possibly be Naruto. And the reason I say possibly is only if he exclusively just trains as himself and doesn't exploit by using his multiple shadow clones to train. Basically what I'm getting at is none of these characters I see giving up, even with the intense gravity training. But now I'm going to continue and bounce off this question by asking and answering my own. How strong would these characters get after this training? Now, if they were training by themselves, there would be pretty minuscule gains for people like Ichigo and Natsu. because both characters have handled insane levels of gravity. And same with Naruto and Luffy, but just at a little lesser degree when it comes to dealing with people utilizing gravity against them. So if they were training by themselves in the gravity chamber, I think the ranking of who would get the best results would be Naruto by exploiting the shadow clones. So however many shadow clones he does, he could technically get that many days worth of results out of it. The next greatest growth in results I'd say would be Luffy, because out of these four, he has the least amount of experience when it comes to dealing with people weighing him down with gravity. And then I'd say it's a toss-up between Ichigo and Natsu, because both Ichigo and Natsu have dealt multiple times with people that alter gravity, so at least on the lower couple levels, they wouldn't really feel much different, and would possibly only start getting gains near the upper limit of 100 times. Now, if they had a training partner, let's just say Goku in this case, let's just say they were training with Goku, for example. Not only would they be gaining results from training with heightened gravity, they would also be able to work off of Goku to allow them to grow stronger by having a very powerful training partner. So, those are my thoughts, and out of all four of these characters, I don't see any of them quitting, but the one I see that would come closest to doing so would be Naruto, only if he didn't exploit his clones to make things easier. Feel free to share your opinions in the comments. Well, fighting this fusion's not going to be fun. Hell, it's not going to be fair for most people to try and fight this thing. The fusion of Batman and Darth Vader. Where the hell do I even begin? First thing I gotta mention is, could you imagine how much skill this fusion's gonna possess? Not only are they going to be insanely skilled with a lightsaber, they'd also be capable of fighting you just as well in hand-to-hand combat thanks to Batman. Now, I'm not that up-to-date with Star Wars comics, but from what I've heard, in the comics, Darth Vader is basically a walking cheat code. So I can imagine his level of skill with the Force is about as impressive and likely far more impressive than even Batman's hand-to-hand combat skill. So having all of that wrapped into a singular person is just going to be way too unfair to go against. And you're having all of that with the combined intelligence of both of these characters. If you have the misfortune of trying to fight this fusion, you better have a hell of a lot of power under your belt and have one hell of a plan of trying to fight this thing. Because if you don't have both of those, plus an insane amount of luck, you're not getting out of this fight alive. This fusion's actually really underrated when it comes to what they'd be capable of doing. Allow me to explain. This is the fusion of Tien Shinhan from Dragon Ball, fused with Neji from Naruto. Now, although neither of these characters are anywhere near the strongest in their verse, but combining the two of them would make them insanely powerful. And the reason why is because of what Tien and Neji can do with their techniques together. So we know that the Byakugan can let you see nearly 360 degrees around you. There's just a very small blind spot. But in this case, since there is a third eye, therefore a third Byakugan, I think that should allow it to where there is no blind spots for this fusion. Next, one of Tien's techniques is he can grow 2 extra arms. Therefore, this fusion would be capable of utilizing the Gentle Fist with 4 arms rather than just 2. So, they not only have 0 blind spots now, but they'd be twice as effective at using the Gentle Fist. And usually when I combine Naruto and Dragon Ball characters together, I like to add one extra thing. Since the 8 trigrams technique is used to seal off chakra points, this fusion would now be able to not only utilize that for disabling chakra, but also to disable ki. So pretty much what this fusion results in is someone with 0 blind spots can strike you with 4 arms, in which each of these arms could make you weaker by suppressing your usage of chakra or ki, and their level of strength is equal to Tien times Neji. And could you imagine how strong they'd actually be if they were to continue training? The human Z fighters are severely underrated when it comes to actually looking at their overall potential. So imagine combining the potential of Neji with the potential of Tien. And the last thing you gotta factor in is pretty much both of these characters never stop training. That way, if this character were to actually train, their power would grow very quickly. So you have that level of physical strength with all the insane abilities that I've listed before, they would be an extremely formidable foe to go against. The Ultimate Saiyan Fusion. The triple fusion between Goku, Vegeta, and Broly. The way this would be performed is first Goku and Vegeta fuse with the fusion dance, and then Gogeta puts on the Patara and fuses with Broly. And I could only imagine just how powerful this fusion would actually be. I know the way this art has been designed, it literally just looks like Gogeta with Broly's form, but it's the first one I could find, so this is what I'm going to be using. So the actual strength this fusion would have, at absolute minimum, would be Goku times Vegeta times Broly. And after you multiply all their power together, they will then be capable of stacking their transformations on top of each other. Imagine utilizing Ultra Ego, Ultra Instinct, and Legendary Super Saiyan all at the same time. Now I know Ultra Instinct requires you to have a clear mind, but as we've seen in the manga, Goku has been able to combine his Super Saiyan forms with Ultra Instinct pretty well so far. So seeing how much more this fusion would have over simply just Goku, there's no telling what they'd be capable of combining with Ultra Instinct. As I said, at their absolute strongest, they'd be able to combine Mastered Ultra Instinct with Vegeta's Ultra Ego, and then stack the legendary Super Saiyan form of Broly's on top of that. Not only are they going to be incomprehensibly strong, if they do somehow go against someone that would be stronger than this fusion, due to Goku and Vegeta's martial arts knowledge and Broly's insane adaptability, even if someone was ahead of them, they won't be for long. If Hit were to have access to Ultra Instinct, hitting him would be nearly impossible unless you were an angel. The mere thought of combining the time skip with the passive-like abilities of Ultra Instinct is nearly impossible for me to even comprehend. And you combine the fact that not only is he going to have passive abilities with Ultra Instinct, he would likely even be able to utilize his time skip passively. And factor in how strong he'd actually get as well. He would have his level of strength, which is already at least Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken level, and then factoring in the power boost he'd get from Mastered Ultra Instinct, which, seeing how much stronger it made Goku, making him leagues stronger than even the multiplier of Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken times 20. You will be stacking that power increase on top of Hit's Super Saiyan Blue capabilities. So combining that physical strength, speed, and durability with the insane amount of hacks that Time Skip and Ultra Instinct would have together would make him a near unstoppable force of nature. What if Broly trained with Whis until he himself unlocks Super Saiyan Blue? It's going to be difficult to even imagine how strong he would be here, but I'm going to do my best to try and explain it. So first off, we gotta factor in just how strong he got over just 2 to 3 hours from when he arrived on Earth to when he got defeated by Gogeta. He went from being weaker than base Vegeta to being so strong that 2 Super Saiyan Blues had to retreat and fuse to stand a chance. All of that without having any proper martial arts training or having any control over his original transformations. So he would train with Whis firstly to master his anger and be able to fully utilize it, as well as have full mastery over his legendary Super Saiyan state to a similar degree as Mastered Super Saiyan with the other Saiyans of Dragon Ball. And after he eventually gets to that degree, then he could finally start working on God Ki training. And if you think he'd already be insanely overpowered simply having mastered Super Saiyan, if you gave him a God Ki amp on top of that, he would be absolutely absurd. Just look at how much stronger Goku got in his base form after getting God Ki compared to where he was prior. So in this case, after Broly gets mastered Legendary Super Saiyan, once he gets the God Ki amp, his base form will likely be stronger than what he was at with his legendary Super Saiyan state beforehand. And that would just be how powerful his new base form would be. Then you'd actually stack the power increase of Super Saiyan God on top of his new base. And last but not least, he wouldn't have regular Super Saiyan Blue, because he has his legendary energy. So instead of Goku combining Super Saiyan with Super Saiyan God, we'd end up having Super Saiyan God infused with legendary Super Saiyan. Or in simpler terms, legendary Super Saiyan Blue. And once you factor in all the training, all the God Ki boosts, all the God form amplifiers, this version of Broly would make every destroyer look pathetically weak in comparison. If Broly were to ever get to this level, there's a possibility he could start getting near the realm of the angels. The fusion of Goku and Jiren, and I'm just gonna say this is an absolute monster in the power department. Because let's think about this. Jiren doesn't have any conventional transformations. You can make an argument for his Limit Breaker state being some sort of extra power-up, but I'm one to say that that's just him pushing beyond his limits rather than transforming. So, this fusion is going to be Jiren's full power times Goku's base. And that absolutely insane level of power is going to be just this fusion's base power. That's not even factoring in all of the Super Saiyan forms, Ultra Instinct, Kaioken, all of that. Alongside the combined fighting skill of Goku and Jiren? How in the world are you expected to try and fight this? Jiren is already an Ultra Instinct level fighter, and you are taking someone at the level of Ultra Instinct and multiplying it by base Goku's power. So this fusion, in its base form, would be capable of doing what Jiren did to Blue Kaioken times 20 in the beginning of the tournament to Ultra Instinct Goku by merely glaring at him. And as just a regular Super Saiyan, even if you lowball this to the extreme, will even be hundreds, if not thousands of times stronger than what Jiren's full power was initially in the Tournament of Power. And that's just with regular Super Saiyan. You've got the God forms, you've got Ultra Instinct, you've got Kaioken on top of Ultra Instinct if you felt like it. If anything, the Potara will give out before this fusion can show its full power. If Goku Black Arc Vegito Blue reduced the 1 hour time limit of the Potara down to a mere 5 minutes, this fusion would last maybe 3 seconds. And honestly, that's being generous.